Hey everyone, welcome to Tony for Second Chances here. Tony for you. This video is going to be a more free flow format going over my initial thoughts on the newly released Soul Hackers 2. Full disclosure, I got an early copy of this game from Atlus. I even got one of those cool content creator boxes I saw so much on Twitter, but I won't let that cloud my judgment. I've made my thoughts on the original Soul Hackers known very well. I really don't like it. So, needless to say, finding out Atlus was making a sequel to Soul Hackers of all the possible IPs they could have had new additions in made me disappointed. I made a full review of the original Soul Hackers on my channel if you want to know more. Despite the initial disappointment, I was actually very much looking forward to this game. The spin-off SMT games are usually very good, whether it's Devil Survivor, Digital Devil Saga, or Raidou. Raidou being my favorite and also being under the same umbrella as Devil Summoner, with Soul Hackers. For context, I've played and beaten this game twice. I explored every dungeon, did every side activity, and finished all of the side quests. So, what do I think about it? Well, it's a good game with a lot of problems. I'll try to stay as spoiler-free as I can, and when I do talk about spoilers, I'll give you fair warning, so stay tuned for that. So, let's get into it. The gameplay overall is very good. Gone is the press turn system, in its place, the Sabbath system. Triggering at first, when you strike the weakness of an opponent, you add a demon to the stack. At the end of your turn, as long as you have a demon on the stack, you'll deal almighty damage. The more stacks, the more damage. A fairly simple system compared to press turn, but ultimately one I had a lot of fun with. It reminds me of Strange Journey, which is my favorite game in the series. The further along you go in the game, the more advanced the combat gets. You can upgrade each party member's comp, giving them all unique abilities. This requires grinding battles to get different drops, though I never actually really did that. The buffs they provide are very important though, specifically the ones that augment your auto attacks and spell affinity. Yes, each party member starts with different spell affinities. Ringo uses lightning, Saizo uses wind, Melody uses fire, and Arrow uses ice. The higher your spell affinity, the better mystiques you can use. These mystiques are different things you can equip to augment your spells in some way, whether it's reducing the MP cost, raising the damage, increasing buff duration, and many more. Exploring the Soul Matrix also buffs your characters in major ways. Based on your affinity with the character, you'll be able to dive deeper into the Soul Matrix. The deeper you dive, the stronger your party gets. Each gate you open allows you to choose from a set of skills, usually increasing the ways a party member can add demons to the stack, or overworld skills, like Ringo getting a stoma to ward off battles, and Melody getting Assassin's Steps, which increases your movement speed. Get that one at your earliest convenience. By the end of the game, you really do feel like a powerhouse compared to where you started, though I will say most of the overworld skills are completely useless. I only ever really used Estoma and Assassin's Steps, though you get a ton more. With each of them having unique skills and different spell affinities, they each serve a very different role in the party. Sadly, you can't build each of them any way you want. You really ought to give them the skills they're best with. Each of them have skills that increases the demons added to the stack depending on the elemental weakness they exploit. So while both party members can exploit the weakness, one is twice as effective. Not to mention that party member probably has the mystiques to almost double their damage. This can really lead to problems later on in Demon Fusion, as when one party member needs an upgrade, the demons available might not be able to use all the skills you want, forcing you to choose between the stats or the spells you might need. For me, it was always Arrow and Saizo that were the problems. For me at least, it was almost impossible to find a demon that could use wind magic and also heal. Same with ice and buffs, until almost the end of the game. Personally, I like the way they handled it better in SMT5, where every demon can use almost every skill, just their effectiveness at it changes. It feels better than completely changing your game plan or giving up on demons you might otherwise enjoy. There's also the changes they made to the light and dark element. That is to say, they took them out entirely and replaced them with Ruin. Ruin damage encompasses every skill that used to just apply status effects. So a skill like Dormina, where it used to just have a high chance of inflicting sleep, now deals damage, and also inflicts sleep. Though I was never able to get a spell that dealt Ruin damage above weak. So that makes the element kind of useless, though it was a cool idea. Increasing your affinity at the Compsmith and equipping mystiques that increase the damage do almost nothing to help this issue. I understand it might have been overpowered, but still. Your demons also explore dungeons alongside you. Finding them on the map gives you opportunities to heal, get unique items, and is also how demon negotiation is handled. And by demon negotiation, I mean the demon will ask you for a specific item, you'll give it to them, and they'll join immediately. Assuming you're not a lower level, you'll pretty much always be able to get the demon. No random chance here. I actually really like this change. It just cuts down on grinding time. The dungeons themselves are usually pretty good, though they can be lumped in two very distinct groups. The dungeons on the map, like Ozaki Hope Towers and the subway line, are very fun. They have unique puzzles to solve, different ways of traversing them, and demons strewn about that give quests. The second group is the Soul Matrix, which is where you'll be spending most of your time. This is not so fun. At first, it's great. They set it up very well in the story. The further your bond, the deeper you can dive into their soul to learn more about them. The charm wears off very quickly though when you realize they're all almost the exact same. The first and second levels are pretty much a straight shot to the end, while the third has green teleportation panels, transporting you to and back from different areas, while the fourth area has red teleportation panels that are one-way tickets. This format remains constant for every party member. Needless to say, it gets old very fast. You also get 3 quests per floor per party member. Each of these is also the exact same. Kill a certain amount of a specified demon, have your demons find a certain amount of a specific rare item, and fight a big boss monster. Yes, you have to do all of this every single floor. The extermination and collection parts are easy enough, but the boss monsters are usually puzzle fights with timers. I realize I'm coming across as very harsh, but honestly it's not that bad. It's just a little boring. I still had fun doing it and unlocking different aspects of my party. It's just very repetitive. Overall, I'd say the majority of battle and exploration in Soul Hackers 2 is just okay. It just wasn't built for multiple playthroughs. Now, let's talk about the characters. Most of them are not very good. The main party isn't that bad, with Ringo being a newly born AI, Arrow being the resident Yatagarasu member, Saizo being a neutral party, and Melody being a member of the Phantom Society. This establishes a clear law-neutral chaos type vibe, but in this game there is no alignment and it really is just for show. Ringo is a newly born AI. From the point she's created to the point where you take control of her, I'd say she's about 2 hours old. Despite this, she's no different from a human. She even understands things like rap lyrics. She's one of the 2 aspects of Ion, the singularity made manifest. It's a cool idea, but it never really goes anywhere, and I'll talk more about it later. Arrow gets a pretty good amount of development without getting too big into spoilers. Saizo is one of my least favorite characters in all of SMT. He takes up so much time and it all revolves around his ex-girlfriend. It's a recurring story point in the game and I just hated it. Melody is my personal favorite character in the game, but she feels like she got snuffed. She's a Phantom Society member after the head of her old boss and lover, Iron Mask. And not to get too deep into spoilers, it really isn't explained to a satisfactory degree. As a whole, the main cast doesn't feel right. All the characters just feel like they're going through the motions. The side characters of Fig and Raven though are much worse. I'll talk more about them later. I would say this game starts off having 3 main themes. The atmosphere is one of a world suffering from stagnation, technologically, philosophically, and culturally. There's also the Covenants. Both Yatagarasu and the Phantom Society want to collect all 5 to keep it either safe or summon a dark god with them. And finally, there's the Ion, which created Fig and Ringo, an artificial intelligence singularity and eternal watcher of humanity. After this point, I'll get into spoilers, but before I do, I want to give my final opinion on the game. Gameplay-wise, it's okay, if you just want a game to play and chill out with, but narratively, it's a complete mess. Now, let's get into spoilers. Remember all those themes I brought up before? All 3 of them? Well, turns out none of them matter at all. The cultural and technological stagnation is never brought up again. The Covenants play a pretty important role, but they're never explained to a satisfactory degree. We know that they're important, and they enhance the wielder in some way. But then again, they might not do any of those things. The one given to the scientist obviously made him more intelligent, but as for the one that Saizo has, all it did was make him a better pianist, and Melody's didn't even do anything at all. None of the other ones are explained either. Supposedly, if you collect all 5, you can summon some Cthulhu-esque deity to destroy the world and create it anew. This is the aim of the Phantom Society. That part is never confirmed or denied. Essentially, the Covenants are just a means to an end and a way to move the plot along. They're simply a plot device, a MacGuffin if you will. There's even a part where Fig takes control of one of the Covenants. The party gets captured and she's forced to hand it over. But luckily she made a new body, transferred a fake Covenant into it, and also implanted the fake Covenant with a computer virus that affected one of the antagonists. Yes, I'm not joking, and no, it's not explained how. This fake Fig is even able to use magic. It was at that point where I gave up on the game narratively. The final theme of Ion is woefully underdeveloped. We know that this is an entity that holds all the world's knowledge ever stored on technology. We also know that it has the capability of creating human life, and that life it creates is capable of bringing people back from the dead. Long story short, none of this is ever explained and is not really important to the plot at all. Other than bringing back your party members, it's not really ever explored. Other than one part at the end of the game, they imply that Ringo could have reconstructed the party's souls any way she saw fit. An interesting philosophical debate could be had on whether or not your party ever had a choice in going alongside you. But this notion is brushed off almost immediately and never brought up ever again. So you might be wondering, if none of those were the actual themes of the game, then what is? And here is your final spoiler warning before I talk about the end of the game. The most important thing in this game is Fig's love for Raven. Yes, two side characters that barely ever interact are the two most important characters in this game. Raven is Iron Mask, the new Iron Mask. He killed the previous one, which is why Milady is after his head. Initially, you meet him as an ex-Yatagarasu member who's running an orphanage. He quit his life on the front line because he had to enact one too many tragedies. His orphanage is also a front to scout people for becoming new Yatagarasu members. He killed so many people and became so jaded he wants to destroy the world. Fig, your sister, also created by Ion, almost falls in love immediately with Raven. It's almost funny how instantly she's enamored with him, talking about how he's such a great guy. When the party finds out that he's Iron Mask, she does not change her tune at all. Despite him almost torturing Ringo to death, he's caused no end of grief to everyone in the party and they all want him dead. Yet Fig says otherwise. Near the end, when you beat him, Fig tries to soul hack him. He doesn't want to come back, so when Fig returns, she takes all the covenants and tries to end the world anyway. She doesn't even do it in the same way as the Phantom Society by summoning that Cthulhu-like entity. She simply becomes a god through the help of Ion, I guess? You fight her, beat her, she becomes an eldritch abomination, you fight her again, and then the game's over. Yes, this whole thing happened because Fig was in love, and didn't ever actually think for herself. She saw Raven, fell in love with him immediately, valued his opinion over everyone she's ever known, which granted was like 5 people, and then wanted to destroy the world. This is insane and stupid. After all that, there's 2 endings. Both of them are quite underwhelming. The bad ending has Fig die. The party goes their separate ways, and Ringo takes over Raven's job at the orphanage. With Fig dead and Ion gone, she bides her time, because she's convinced that one day they'll both return. The second good ending has Fig survive. This time, after the party goes their separate ways, Ion, Fig, and Ringo decide to make their presence known to the world and live alongside humanity. Thematically, I actually like the bad ending more. Humanity might need a little bit more time before rapid progress is spurned on. And this time, without the covenants, hopefully the world will be more at peace. So yeah, that was the game, and I didn't really like it. Sorry Atlus. The box was really nice though. Like I said, I want this game to succeed so we get more spin-off titles, but I'd say wait for a sale. If you like this more freeform style of video, let me know. I might make more in the future. Special thanks to Anton, Big T, Frankie Stoned, Heavenly Potato, Jim Taylor, Just a Middleman, Konyuna, Matt M, Mega X454, Mr. 8 Eyes, POTW Gold, The Toaster Messiah, Video Gamer 75, and many more for supporting the channel on Patreon. If you'd like to support, check the link in the description below. Thanks for hearing my thoughts on Soul Hackers 2, and I'll see you in the next Tony for You. Have a good one.